Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this video, I'm going to show you how to beat the final boss in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and how to get the good ending. Now you can get two different bad endings, and that's what I'm going to show you right here. The first thing you have to do though is complete the entire adventure mode. You don't have to do every single fight, but you have to get to the end. And then you can see the two final bosses, so to speak, over here, and you can go to either one of them and fight them. And those are the individual bad endings. One's worse than the other, but you want to go to the middle. All right, you go to the middle and you fight them. Obviously, you're gonna run into this if you play through the game. This is not the hard part. There's no hard part really, but I'm gonna give you some tips on how to do it. So you go to the middle and you get to pick 3 fighters. The first fighter you want to pick is definitely one that's going to be a little bit more mobile. You have to do a lot of jumping, and it's not particularly difficult, but it's a little bit more difficult if you pick a really slow character. Now, Ike's not especially fast, but I shouldn't need him. In fact, I've beaten this multiple times without ever getting to my second or third character. But I like to pick strong characters for the hitting potential, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But you don't want to pick somebody like Ganondorf in the beginning unless you're going strictly for challenges. Now, as far as the spirits go, you might want to think about what you're going to pick. Some people might go for something like heavy hitting, but you don't really need that. What's the easiest thing? This is going to make it incredibly easy. Health. If you can get a little bit of extra health while you're fighting, that's the way to go, and Celebi is the way to do it. It takes up all 3 slots, so you're going to want to pick your strongest spirit with 3 slots available and turn on Celebi. I never use this one for anything but the final fight, but it makes it incredibly easy. Like, it's not difficult in the first place, but it makes it a whole lot easier. You don't even have to think too much while you're playing. So we're going to go ahead and turn that on. We'll let it load up, and then the fun begins. So the first thing you do is you just want to basically scale this auto-scroller. You're just going to keep jumping. A big benefit here is to have done your skill tree to the point where you can have an extra jump. It's not necessary, but it does. I mean, none of this is especially difficult, but it does make it a lot easier. Now, when you get to this point, you're going to have to fight a bunch of red people and white people, and you don't really have to fight them super hard because they're going to be fighting each other in the meantime, and they're kind of annoying. Like, they're not difficult in any way, but a lot of the time they just kind of avoid you, or they just do like constant dodging until they can get a hit off, and they really pose no threat. They're just a nuisance. So you can either just kind of goof around and fight them, or just do whatever you want really to clear the area. They will kill each other, but they just really are bad at fighting, so they're not going to do much. And of course this is a little bit more difficult on the hard setting, but it's not. These guys aren't as cheap as like any of the spirit matches, so it's nothing to really concern yourself with. 1 or 2 smash attacks and they'll all die. So I like to just goof around and try to go for strong hits. It's no big deal. And because of the Celebi spirit, you never really have to worry about your damage in this kind of situation. Now, something you do want to worry about is to not do things like falcon kicks or things like that on the bottom. Any kind of down attack where you have a potential of falling through and then killing yourself by doing a move down out of the barrier, you want to not do that, because it does potentially happen, because you can go through the floor. Now, of course, as you're jumping up here, you can see he will send tentacles out to try to get you. Just dodge those, and when you see the eyeball, whack it. A couple of strong smash attacks will make it go away. Now, those things that are guarding the eye do a ton of damage. You can see I got up to 30%, just, I think, by getting hit twice. So you want to try to avoid those. It's very easy to avoid them. I'm just kind of goofing around here because I've done this so many times, and it's not a real challenge. But yeah, you just want to avoid those and hit the eyeball, and it'll go away. You can get the jetpack here. You really don't need the jetpack until the very end of this, so just keep jumping up. You have another one of these kind of set fights. They get a little bit more annoying, I guess. There's just more people on the screen, and the stage is a little bit more annoying, but it really doesn't make much of a difference. The more of them there are, I think it's probably a little bit easier, because the AI doesn't really know what to do, if they should fight each other or you, or hide from you or the other people, so I just like to run around and whack them real hard, and they die. There's really no threat here. Even on hard, it's not that difficult. Every once in a while, they'll get a couple of hits off, but as you can see, thanks to the spirit, you basically don't take any damage. And that heart likes to fall off if you have the skill that pulls the stuff to you, so be careful. And then, of course, just dodge the tentacles. You really shouldn't get hit by the tentacles at all, because they're very obvious. Sometimes they can be like right where you're trying to go, but there's other places to go. And that heart, or that tomato, I probably called it a heart earlier. That one is kind of a sabotage, so be careful for the tentacle. They do some damage, but if you die from it, that's it's pretty unlikely. You really shouldn't die from it. You should maintain 0% damage just about throughout this entire area. And even through the boss fights, if you're trying at all, you won't have any trouble, but we'll get to that in just a minute. So you have another one of these. This is probably the easier one, even though they do throw a few more people at you and the people are kind of more aggressive. It's wide open, so they kind of just drop down to you and you can just fight them. It's kind of annoying. I mean, this is easily the best part of the adventure mode, but most of the adventure mode you spend frustrated because the fights are either incredibly challenging, I shouldn't say too challenging, they're cheap, or they're incredibly easy. And then this part is just like, it's kind of a waste of time. It's fun, but it's not difficult at all. So you have one more section here where we're going to be jumping up. You have to do the same thing on the right side. Avoid those saw blades. 3 smash attacks and this thing will go away if you're strong at all. And I missed it just in time to get hit, but there you go, and it's gone. It's really super easy. Of course, you have more tomatoes and more jetpacks, and you really don't need those. It's not going to be a bad idea to continue to pick up the jetpacks, and if you feel like it might throw off your jumping, just tap it, and you won't actually use the thrusters. You'll just do your regular jumping, but that's totally up to you. If memory serves, there should be one more fight, and then we have the last section. But I've done this so many times, it kind of has blended together, so we'll see. Just keep dodging those. They're so scripted and easy to see, so don't worry about that. Okay, so maybe we are at the end. Yeah, we're at the end. So there's no more fighting. You just make it through this bomb area. The jetpack is almost necessary to avoid taking damage. You can kind of just hover. Just make sure you don't hover too high, unless you know exactly where you're going, because you could go right into the next layer. But otherwise, oh no, there is one more fight at the end. Okay, I'm not going crazy. So yeah, just grab the jetpack and just kind of hover, and the bombs won't hit you. But even if they do, they aren't going to KO you. You'd have to get hit by at least 2, maybe 3 before you die, unless you have incredibly bad luck. So this is going to be the last fight right here, and it's more of the same. Really just basically try to avoid taking damage. That's all these are, is they're kind of just damage sinks, but you don't really need to worry about it because of that Celebi spirit, which is kind of indicative of the whole adventure mode. If you use the right spirit, it takes all of the challenge out of it and makes it stupidly easy. And if you use even just a mediocre spirit, it's usually too cheap to be any fun. Luckily, this final boss fight isn't cheap, so it can be fun, depending on how you want to do it. If you want to give yourself a little bit of a challenge, don't use the Celebi spirit. But you do want to be careful in this area because there is no ground underneath you. It's just those 2 slanted platforms, and it is, again, kind of like what I mentioned earlier. It's easy to accidentally KO yourself, and while you do have 3 lives and you do eventually get 1 back once you finish a certain section, you won't need to, but you don't want to get rid of your main character if you like your main character, which I do, and Captain Falcon I think is probably the best character to run through adventure mode with. At least that's what it felt like for me. So once you clear that area, you're done with that section, but we are far from finished. Now we're going to do a bit of a boss rush, and for those of you that don't know what that is, it means you fight all of the bosses one after the other with accumulating damage, which isn't a problem for us. You want to jump up and attack them. If they hit you, you do take some damage. They can throw little balls at you, and it hurts. But just avoid their balls and hit them, and you'll be fine. You can do it in any order. There's a couple of fights here. Obviously, some of the bosses are stupidly easy, and some of them are just annoying. And if you want to try real hard, you can get out of each boss fight with minimal damage, if any at all. I like to, because the Celebi spirit makes it super easy. Ones like this guy, Bowser, and who's the other one? Mostly just this guy, Bowser, I guess. They do a lot of moves that kind of hit on both directions, so it's just a pain in the ass to keep dodging. So I like to just get in there and just kill him as fast as I can. And as you can see, he's already almost dead. I've taken 50%, but you'll see why it doesn't matter in just a second. Plus the Celebi Spirit is going to keep us kind of, it's going to mitigate a lot of that damage anyway. Now, it won't heal us in the downtime, but it will heal us as long as you're still on screen, as you saw there. It'll heal here too, but we don't need it because in just a minute you're going to see we get health items, which makes it even easier. But like I said, Gallium and Bowser, they tend to just do a lot of moves, although Bowser's significantly easier to dodge if you're trying. It's just, to me, it's not worth the effort of trying to dodge. I like to just get in there and hit him as much as possible, as fast as I can, to get it over with. He telegraphs a lot. He always shows you when he's about to do a move. And that jump attack, if you're unlucky, it's the worst one to get because he covers so much screen and you can't really hit him. The best one to get, and I just did one actually before I recorded this, is when he does the spin move. It's so easy to just jump over and then pound on him. That one right there. It's so much easier to hit him. But either way, you can just get in on him and keep hitting him until he's dead, and you really aren't going to die. If you're really unlucky or really, really bad, you might, but you should be just fine. So the reason it's okay to take a bunch of damage on these guys, and if you can order it this way, that's ideal, but you don't really have to, is you're going to get a heart right here anyway. So you can grab that, and then you'll be fine. So go ahead and select your next boss fight. None of these are actually too difficult. They're all fairly easy. Two of them are particularly easy, and one of them is this one right here, Ganondorf. He is super easy to fight. Now, I know people are complaining about this because you can only hit him in his tail and he's so big, but especially if you have your extra jump from your skill tree, you can jump right over him and just really punish him because he doesn't do too much that goes in both directions. He has, like, I can only think of one, but he might have a second move that actually hits backwards. But you can see he's already almost dead, and that was only one cycle. So you can finish him off before he even gets a chance to do anything. A couple of these are just really, really easy. Even without the spirit, you can get out of it without taking any damage, without even really trying. So just jump over him and hit him in the tail, and that's it. And then the next really easy one is this one right here, Dracula. Now, if you want to try real hard, not even really hard, just actually pay attention to what you're doing, you can kill him without taking any damage at all. He's only vulnerable on his head, and if you keep jumping over him and hitting down, which I missed a few times there, embarrassingly, you pretty much won't take any damage. If you do it right, those little spires of flame will go forward, and you'll be behind him by the time they come out. But as you can see, he's already done, and thanks to the spirit, and I only took one hit, no damage at all. So he's going to transform, which you guys should be familiar with this at least a little bit already. You kind of want to do the same strategy with the transformed version of him because he tends to only attack forward. Now that attack right there does reach backwards, but if you time it right, if you jump over him as he's swinging forward, you'll be able to hit him and then be perfectly safe behind him well after he's done his move. And as you can see, he's already dead. Most of these boss fights are really easy, and some of them are even easier because you can get out of it without taking any hits if you're trying. And it doesn't really matter. You're going to end up with more health than you need. The Rathalos here, it's another really easy one. Every once in a while he might get one of his like fire bombs off on you, but you won't. You really have no risk of dying on this fight. Really good strategy for this guy, again, is to kind of fight him like Ganondorf, or just Ganon, I guess. He doesn't do too much that's dangerous if you're behind him, and he likes to do those attacks where he ends up kind of just punishable the whole time. So if you can get in behind him, you can get him down to half health before he's even had a chance to attack you. These fireballs right here, they sometimes land where you are, and they're so big you can't get out of the way. You have to watch out for the fire and his lunge attack, but then he's just super punishable again. He just stands facing one direction for so long, and then he makes himself even more punishable right afterwards. So it's very easy. Worst thing, I guess, is if you get dizzied. He can dizzy you, but even then you just rock the controller and you'll be fine. So nothing to really worry about. Don't let him grab you. Avoid some extra damage there. And you should be able to get out of this without taking any hits. It's probably the third easiest, just because he moves around a little bit more, but he's just about as easy as Bowser. Or, I mean, Dracula, not Bowser. Although, Bowser's easy too. So you do have another heart. You don't need it because you have 0% damage. As you can see, I hit one of those little balls and it did almost 15%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it does add up, even though we have our spirit. We want to try to avoid that, and you can, but they do kind of spin around funny. Now, this guy seems like he's unpredictable, but he has pretty set patterns, and you can pretty much kill him before he does anything too dangerous anyway. Basically just running back and forth, and he'll miss almost every single attack. There's one that I don't think I've yet to dodge. I haven't tried super hard, but because it doesn't really matter, but you'll see in just a second here. But he ends up in the middle of the screen, and he kind of splits himself in half. So that one you can dodge. I was too close to him. I got caught from the hitbox from behind. But he just keeps popping around. Don't chase. You know he's going to end up in the middle. And then he does this. And every time he does it, I haven't had time to get away. But it does almost nothing. So don't worry about it too much. He's already almost dead. So just wait for him to reappear. And you can punish really hard. Because he just floats. Even during his attacks, he's just floating there. Free kill, basically. So I ended up taking a little bit of damage, but it's only 42%. And I think we have one fight left. Do we have one fight left? Who's left? We might not. Even still, we have plenty of hearts. So you're going to end up having way more health. Yeah, we're already done. So plenty of health, and it's going to get wasted. You can't even pick it up because now it's time for the big show. So there's a couple of rumors going around, and I don't know if it's true because I haven't been able to prove it, but here's what I'll tell you. There's a rumor going around that if you do this fight in a certain way, you end up with a bad ending anyway. And I tried to make that happen, and I couldn't. They say, I've read this, if you kill one of these two guys before the other one has been damaged enough, you'll end up with the bad ending. Well, in my experience, that's absolutely not true. I killed Galeem 100% dead, while Darkon still had 100% of his health. And then I just fought Darkon until he died. There was no punishment for not beating them equally. There's two different strategies for this. Both of these fights are essentially the same as when you fought them the first time, where you just keep hitting them in the balls until they die. And that's fine, and that's easy, but it's a little bit more crowded, obviously, with both of them. And when the ball does go down and just sit there like you're supposed to punish it during the main fights, you don't really want to do that because the other one is also going to do the same thing, and you'll end up getting kind of hit in the crossfire. So you want to avoid that. But otherwise, just keep hitting them as much as you can. I have found that air attacks are by far the best because they like to hover most of the time, and obviously you'll be able to get some ground smash attacks off, but air attacks are definitely the primary focus here. That's why I really like Falcon. He's really strong in the air. Now, when this area comes up, you want to stand on the right platform. I don't know for sure if it's exactly the same every time, but I have found that it's basically, you don't take any damage there at all. They don't hit you. It'll look like they're going to hit you, but they don't. Okay, so once you get to a certain point, they're going to spawn some more bad guys. Don't fight them. Run away. You can't kill them. I mean, I guess you could technically, but they explode almost instantly, and they're super powerful. So just run away so they don't blow up on you. Okay, so you just want to keep going back and forth and killing these guys. That's one strategy. Once one goes down, the other one goes he tries to hit the first one, and then you can kill the other one. They just go back and forth in a cycle, and that's one strat. The other strat is, like I said a minute ago, just destroy one of them really fast, and then you only have one to worry about. I find that one to be a little bit easier, but some people have difficulty killing one while the other one's still active. I mean, like, completely active, so just be careful. A lot of stuff going on the screen. If you saw, there was a big red X on there. If you're in that red X, it puts you in slow motion. So you want to kind of avoid that. And then they both just have the same kind of moves. They have these little X bombs. They have the smash attacks like you just saw. If you're not paying attention, you get hit. You just keep dodging stuff and hitting them in the balls. And just like in real life, that'll eventually put them out of commission. You'll be fine. Ike's also really good at this. These guys happen to be my two mains. But anybody that's really strong in the air seems to be a good choice. You want to stay on that right platform. That one wave looks like it does damage, but I don't think any of these do. It might be different from match to match, but I've spent at least 5 of them on that platform not taking any damage from those waves. So just be careful and you'll be fine. But as you can see, we're down to basically 0% health, and just avoid these guys because their bombs are really powerful. And we're back to fighting. It's relatively easy to do. Every once in a while, they'll have like these big explosions that they throw at you. You can just shield them if your shield's like right there. That one, if you do it right, you can just shield it. But they happen to double up on me, so I couldn't shield it properly. And then there goes one of them. Once one's down, I think it's incredibly easy to finish off the other one. So that's my preferred strategy. Just focus on one of them. Just tank any hits you have to from the other, and you'll be fine. Once you play it once, you'll be able to read what's going on the screen without paying too much attention because there's so much going on. It can be overwhelming, but you'll get used to it and you'll kind of see what's happening, and you'll take some hits. Like this one right here, people seem to be upset about that one because you can't really dodge it, but it doesn't really do anything either, so I just kind of ignore it. My strategy for this, when I have the Celebi Spirit on, is to just tank as many hits as I can to kill them as fast as possible. And you'll see here I had some bad luck and I lost a stock, but most of the time I won't lose any stocks, especially if I try to split the bosses. So it's fairly easy. But that's it. That's all you have to do. And then you're done, and you get the good ending. And it's awesome. and it's easily the best boss fight in all of Smash Brothers, I think. I did really like... Actually, I've liked all of them, but I think this one has the biggest payoff for the least amount of fun. Because the adventure mode for this, for me, was kind of a drag. It was way too long and really way too monotonous, and it didn't have any cutscenes, and it was pretty boring, and most of the fights were cheap or stupidly easy. So it was kind of a chore to get through. I went fairly quickly at like 22 hours or something like that, but that's still a long adventure mode just for this one awesome fight, really. So I don't know, the adventure mode didn't really give me what I wanted out of the game, but this final fight did, and now you guys have some tips that might be helpful. And if you like this kind of thing, let me know, guys. I'm more than happy to do more of this kind of content. I absolutely love video games, and I love making video game content, so if you like it, let me know. And I do have a playlist for video game stuff, but not too much of that is current, so it's not going to help you too much. But if you want to check it out, there's a lot of Halo stuff on there. And I guess that'll do it, guys. So it really does help me if you give the video a thumbs up. And in the comment section, why don't you let me know what you thought about the adventure mode if you've already played it, or if you haven't played it but have watched this. Let me know what you think about the boss fight. Let me know your thoughts on Smash Ultimate. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it, but I'm very disappointed in a lot of ways. So I'm curious to see what you guys think. So make sure you go ahead and leave me a comment down below. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. And of course, if you haven't subscribed, you might want to do that. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.